Alright, so I'm going to start with an exercise. I want you guys to raise your hand if you've ever done or seen a friend do crystal meth. Bath salts. Heroin. What about marijuana? According to the DEA, all of the aforementioned drugs are Schedule I drugs, ranked the highest for danger and potential for abuse. But one stands out. Marijuana is widely used. According to the Pew Research Center, half of all adults have tried it, and has proven medicinal properties and is impossible to overdose on. So why is it that this drug is scheduled alongside drugs that can induce cannibalism, self-destruction, and death? I'm going to answer that question today. And I'm also going to try to accomplish three things. I'm going to explain where marijuana policy comes from. I'm going to explain why banning marijuana use hurts our state. And I'm going to explain why legalizing and regulating marijuana use can unite both parties within Tennessee and lead to the betterment of all Tennesseans. So where does this harsh scheduling come from? Henry Anslinger was the head of the Department of Prohibition, appointed by his own uncle-in-law. And in 1933, Prohibition ended. So he had to find a new drug to go after, or he'd be out of work. He chose weed, and he painted it as an incredibly dangerous drug that made Mexican people go crazy, black men rape white women, and children murder their own parents. He conducted his own research and ignored the dozens of studies contradicting his own, including those from the American Medical Association. Congress, most of whom had never even heard of cannabis at the time, approved his laws condemning marijuana. Today, that racism continues. According to the New York Times article, The Injustice of Marijuana Arrests, whites and blacks use marijuana at the exact same rate. But blacks are 4 times more likely to be arrested for it, and 10 times more likely to go to prison for it. We all raised our hands, we've all had experience with it. But the members of color in the audience are 10 times more likely to be in prison for it, and that's not fair. These arrests are unfairly targeting minorities, preventing minorities from getting jobs and degrees, and they're taking fathers and mothers away from their children. Not only is marijuana policy incredibly racist, it also wastes a lot of money. The cost of marijuana restriction is twofold. The first cost is the cost of enforcing these laws and imprisoning so many people. The second cost is the lost income from not regulating and taxing marijuana. Just last year, there were 800,000 marijuana-based arrests, half of all drug-related arrests. And the American Civil Liberties Union estimates that it costs $6 billion a year to imprison these people. Colorado, the first state to legalize recreational marijuana, made $1 billion in sales in its first year, and netted $140 million in taxes, which were used to fund Colorado schools, according to the Denver Post. Thirdly, marijuana policy prevents patients from receiving treatment. 80% of doctors approve the use of medical marijuana, and 92% of patients say marijuana relieves their symptoms. Yet more than half the patients who need marijuana are not legally allowed to use it, including every single one in our state of Tennessee. So what would legalizing marijuana in Tennessee do? First of all, it would generate a lot of money. Our sweet home, Tennessee, is an agricultural state. And according to the University of Tennessee, agriculture accounts for $39 billion generated every year. And 42% of our state is farmland. Now, I understand that y'all might not love the idea of driving down I-65 and seeing fields and fields of reefer. But hear me out. We can use this excess land to produce a lot of marijuana. And earlier this month, marijuana bills were on 8 states' ballots. And that's only going to grow in years to come. So if we can legalize marijuana and grow a surplus, not only can we add on to the 216,000 agriculture-related jobs that our state already has, but we'll have the inventory to make a ton of money when other states catch up. Next, legalizing marijuana would allow us to allocate police resources to more important things. And I know what many of y'all are thinking, that legalizing marijuana would make our state less safe. But let me tell you that nothing is more important to me than keeping our state well protected from criminals and keeping our most vulnerable safe. According to the Min-Press article, New Schools, Less Crime, Colorado sees the benefits of marijuana legalization. Between 2009, when marijuana was legalized medicinally in Colorado, and 2015, the violent crime rate fell by over 6%. Experts estimate that this is because police had more time and resources to fight other types of crime. And in Tennessee, we're facing a frightening amount of it. According to the Tennessee government database, last year there were 133,000 cases of theft and 113,000 cases of assault, or over 300 a day. And here in Nashville, our murder rate rose by 83% last year, to the highest it's been in a decade. Now imagine when you're at work, or out of the house, and your spouse and family are at home. and the unthinkable happens. Somebody breaks it. In that moment, your loved ones depend on one thing: our law enforcement. And let's not put ourselves in a situation where police may be bogged down by going after marijuana users and unable to go after violent criminals. Let's utilize our police force to deal with the evils that tear apart the heart and soul of our state, and that's our families. Lastly, legalizing the use of marijuana within Tennessee would help solve our state problem of prescription painkiller and narcotic addiction. In the Tennessean article, Opioid Abuse Has a Death Grip on Tennessee, a number of shocking statistics are revealed. Firstly, we are second only to West Virginia in painkiller prescriptions per person. Next, in Tennessee alone, there are 140,000 people who abuse opioids or are dependent on them. That's 1 out of every 50 of us, the highest rate in the country. People are being overprescribed opioids, they're becoming dependent, and it's ruining their lives. According to a study in the Canadian Medical Association Journal, authored by doctors from both McGill and Oxford, marijuana relieves chronic pain. Nut Scale of Addiction, a chart used to compare the addictiveness of various substances, places opioids at the top, and then substances that we legalize and regulate, like alcohol and tobacco, and then marijuana. So if we can use marijuana as a proxy, a non-addictive proxy, for these highly addictive and destructive painkillers, we can save our neighborhoods from the evils of addiction. Now I want to be clear that the implementation of marijuana legalization should be highly regulated. It should mimic that of alcohol. An age limit of 21 would be required to purchase, and vendors would have to go through a strict vetting process, one that in many states that have already legalized marijuana, including Massachusetts, takes up to a year. All sales would be taxed, and purchases would be limited to a reasonable amount for personal consumption. Distributing to minors would be illegal, and you would only be able to use it in the privacy of your own home. This is a model that has been highly effective in Colorado and has resulted in the boons that I've detailed earlier. Now, as I wrap up my speech, I want to thank you guys so much for your time and urge you to take some next steps. Firstly, I want to express my gratitude for having been given the floor at this contest. I'm really humbled to be up here today to speak about something that I'm passionate about that affects each and every one of us. Legalizing marijuana in our state would make our people a lot of money, it would make our neighborhoods safer, and it would help break the cycle of prescription painkiller and opioid abuse in Tennessee. While it's traditionally a liberal-focused initiative, legalizing marijuana in Tennessee supports strong conservative values. Ideals like protecting family rights, keeping our state safe, and decreasing residents' taxes. For these reasons, marijuana policy is something that both sides can unite on. I urge you all to write your legislators and representatives with this message, to allow Tennessee to reap these benefits as soon as possible. Thank you very much.